out my bearings. For those of you that are not familiar, this is a pretty famous reel, the Ambassador 2500C. This is the IAR model, instant anti-reverse. I actually built this from scratch, and it's had some time on it this year. I mean, it spins reasonably well, but it could use bearings to be cleaned out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is show you my methodology on how I do this, and we're going to get started right now. First, what I need to do is pull the crank side plate off. This one I do run a centrifugal brake on because I like to use this one for casting from piers or lakes and whatnot, and centrifugal for me is better for distance. And this one, I only need to run one brake block on it, as you can see right there. Even though it has space for 4 of them, it doesn't really need that many, especially with this really lightweight Avail spool. So the spool slows down pretty quickly, and you don't really need to have more than one. Even with the loose spool tension, it's not going to backlash on you unless it hits the water before your thumb hits the spool. But go ahead and get this started. So what I need to do here is, you can see how I have this little O-ring. Now, Avail, they ship these spools with a little E-clip that goes on there, and it's a really weird size, a 2.4 millimeter. I've lost them before, kind of a pain in the butt to have to order one from Japan. So what I did is I found that a 2 millimeter O-ring fits right there perfectly. And I just need to get that off of here, and that's what secures the pinion gear on. I could pull the bearing, and there we have a NMB DDL 1150Y04. This is a correct 5x11x4 size that the 2500C, 1500C, and 3500C take. So I'm going to need to get that out of there. I like to run mine open. It makes them a little bit easier to clean. Nothing special about this bearing. It's just a regular production bearing. Daiwa, Abu, Shimano, and Isuzu, if you're familiar with them, they all use NMB bearings right out of the factory because they're super high quality and they really don't cost a whole lot. And with this reel, I'm not typically throwing under 2 grams on it, so I don't need to spend the money on anything that's ceramic hybrid or any of that stuff. Now, what I need to do is pull off the other side plate. This is where we have the cogwheel that drives level lined. As you can see, it spins reasonably well, not as good as it should, but a little trick I'm going to show you is with these E-clips that are on here. You can see that that's a 1.5 millimeter tip on the screwdriver. I know these are pretty fiddly for a lot of people, but if you take it and you stick it right in there in this little groove, and you just put your thumb over and twist, bam, there it goes. Pops right off. I actually lost that one. I wasn't meaning to, but I keep quite a few spares as backup. But just remember to keep your finger over it and you'll be alright. And then I just got to go inside here, push out the bearing that's in it. There's one. Push out the other one. Number 2. There's our idler gear bearings. So that I can put off to the side. Now the next one I need to get out is the other spool bearing. This one I just hold my thumb over it, like so. And then go ahead and pull up on there. I like to put my thumb over it and just pull the whole thing off like that. So there's a bearing retainer, and I actually have a special tool I made to pull this bearing. It's just a pair of tweezers I bent the tips on, stick it right in, pull it out, there you go. This I can put off to the side now. So the next part that I need to do is I have to pull off the level line. Now this is an Avail level lined unit, and the plastic that's on here is very fragile, so you need to be exceptionally careful with that, because if it breaks, you're SOL. Avail does make a newer version now where the bearing can be removed from the worm gear, but it still doesn't compensate for the fact that this is weak plastic. I haven't used it yet, so I'm not sure how quality the plastic is, but typically I would run the Valley Hill unit because the plastic they use is much more durable, and you can actually pull that piece off and clean the bearing that's under it. So what I need to do on this one is go ahead and pull off the little pawl cap on there. You drop that guy down, and then we pull a 2500C worm. You just take the two tabs like so, push in, and it pops right out. And there it is. Now we can just go ahead and remove the rest. There's the worm shield, line guide. Alright, now there's one more bearing that's in here. Oh, there it goes, it just fell out. Now if you look, it doesn't matter if you mix these up, it's the same size, 730 bearing, 3x7x3 I think that is. I could be wrong, but it's the same size that goes in this guy. And what's nice about that, if you mix them up, it's not going to make any difference. Not unless you're mixing different brands of bearings, are you going to have to worry about anything in particular. But with these right here, these are also NMBs, as they're used across a variety of, like I said, products with fishing reels. Avail uses them in their parts. Reel manufacturers use them. So now that we got all these bearings out, it's time to stick them in some denatured alcohol. I just keep a jar of it. I'm going to run this in an ultrasonic cleaner. What the denatured alcohol does, it's going to go ahead and remove anything that's in there, any old oil, any dirt that's in it. And what's exceptionally nice about denatured alcohol is it leaves zero residue behind. You'll see a lot of guys are going to run something like naphtha, which is commonly sold as Zippo fluid. Some people use Simple Green. Those do leave things behind, especially Simple Green. You gotta really rinse the crap out of them. With these ones, you just drop them in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm gonna stick the actual level line in there too. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put that cap on and put it over here in my ultrasonic cleaner. And I'm gonna run that guy for, I'll say, about 10 minutes. And once that guy is done running, I'm going to take and blow them out with some compressed air, and I'll give it a dry run. We'll see how it spins dry, and then we'll go ahead, oil it up, and it'll be ready to fish. While I'm at it, I'm just going to take and use a Q-tip, any of that old oil out of there that might be on it. Same thing with this guy, with the pawl. Go ahead, remove any oil that's on there. What I do like to use on the level line is TSI 321, which is a very thin lubricant. It's actually a dry film. What it does is it bonds to the metal and fills in the microscopic pores. It actually stays put for a very long time. I get people that bring me in stuff for service that I serviced a couple years ago, and things are still moving nicely. They just want routine cleaning, and that stuff stays put pretty good. What's an interesting fact about TSI that many aren't aware of is that it was initially designed for NASA to lubricate hard drive platters for spacebound vehicles. Of course, what they do is they really thin it out with some kind of solvent, just so it leaves barely a layer on there, and then those vehicles can be up in space for a while. But we're going to go ahead and get this ready to go, and we'll have it all good. Lube it up, give it a spin test, and hopefully you learned something from this. Did blow them dry with compressed air. I do keep an air compressor, makes things quick. You can always use canned air if you want. I'm going to go ahead and put these back in. You just press in there, if I can get it. There we go. There's 1, 2. Set it on the post. And we're going to take this little clip. We need to seat that in there. Sometimes these things are a little fiddly. There's a groove that it fits into. And with these, like take there we go. Let's see how it spins dry. Pretty good. mean, it's going to be a little bit slower oiled, but that's just what oil does. It's going to slow you down a little bit, but you need that lubrication in there. Next thing we're going to do is put the bearings back onto the spool. Take my little O-ring, put that back on, slide it all. Oh, gotta have the pinion first. Pinion goes on. Little O-ring, bam. See, now look, that thing's not moving anywhere. That holds just as good as what that 2.4 millimeter E-clip holds on there. We can take the other spool bearing, set that in, put in the clip. These just kind of press in there. I like to take a screwdriver when I'm done and kind of just check and make sure it's seated in there correctly. Now we do the level wind. So this bearing goes in the end, right like that. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take this guy, slide it in there, get your line guide, get it, make sure it's in the groove. We can take and slide that right in. Now the fun part. So you're going to know with these Avail worm gears when it fails, because usually they break, if they're going to break when you insert it in. Listen for the clip, there we go, it's in there. Listen to that thing spin. And we're going to give this thing a dry run, so just to check the free spool. Now something to think about when you get into these, you see these guys doing free spool videos, they spin seemingly forever. They're not running any oil on there. What a lot of us refer that to as a parlor trick. That's not going to be anything you're going to see in regular fishing conditions, but it's fun to watch to some degree. Oh, there's a little piece of fuzz on there. Let's go and set that back in. It's seated. We can go ahead and put the cap back on. I like that these are coarse threads because it makes it fairly easy to get the cap back on it. Now with this low profile frame that I have on here, sometimes it's a little bit much to get that back in there, but let's give it a test run. Oh yeah, look how good that moves. Alright, we got everything back in. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and attach the side plate. Start it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run this with 0 brakes right now just to demonstrate how good that moves. I guess it helps if I put the bearing plate back on. I was looking at it and I'm thinking, oh, there's a lot of space left there. Shouldn't be that way. So back off this one comes. Okay, there we go. There's the bearing plate. Just line up the hole. Got that right on, and we'll put this one back. Something about these ambassadors is, being that there's so many moving parts that are in play when you're casting them, because this is a synchronized level line, so that level line is going to be moving on the cast and on the retrieve, so there's going to be friction there to compensate for. That's one reason why they kind of fell out of favor, but with the advent of bait finesse, they kind of found a new home, and you can see that as prices just continuously go up on them, that it can be hard to find something at a reasonable deal, whereas maybe even 5-10 years ago you could get one of these in nice shape for $100, sometimes even cheaper than that. You can look at estate sales, garage sales, eBay if you don't mind spending the eBay money. But okay, let's see, we got a little side tension in there, or zero side tension rather, but let's see how it does. Now that's a dry reel, so it's going to be noisy. Pretty good. Let's give it another spin. You know, ever since I got one of these, my first one I got probably about 3 years ago, and I was really on the fence about it. I had reels like the Daiwa Alpha Airstream Custom. I had a Shimano Calcutta Conquest BFS, the 2017 model, which I still do have. Got a Millionaire CTSV, and in my head I'm thinking, why are people sinking so much money into these ambassadors? What's so special about them? Well, I ended up finding one cheap on Facebook Marketplace. Had a slow day at my day job, ended up going down the rabbit hole, and I've since built out quite a few of them for myself, for customers of mine. I've upgraded them for people, tuned them, and they're just such a pleasure to fish with. They have that old school feel to them, but you can also bring them up to modern standards, like how I did with the lower profile frame, which makes it palm grade on a straight grip fishing rod. It's just a great reel, and it just makes me wonder is, why did Abu Garcia stop making these things? They saw bait finesse taking off. They wanted to feed us all the stuff coming out of Korea, which are made by Doyo. I mean, yeah, they're nice reels, they can be, but this is the heart and soul of Abu Garcia right here, the ambassador. And the only thing I can think of is that Pure Fishing, in their infinite wisdom, they don't really care about fishermen, and all they really want to do is make money, whereas Shimano and Daiwa, they care about fishermen. They put out world-class reels of heirloom quality, like I said, the Calcutta Conquest line, the Millionaire, the Ryoga, the Steez. Now, where's Abu been this whole time? I mean, BFS has been a thing for probably the last 10 to 15 years, and it's really picked up steam within the last 5 years or so. And at the same time, they're like, well, you know what, we should just get rid of what made us so good and be a brand only, and they're doing a knockout job at that. And when they've done that, especially when they were bought by Sycamore Partners back in 2018, they canceled all small business contracts. They used to have places that made limited edition reels for them, like reintroduction of the Abu Cardinal spinning reel. They had the various ambassadors, and even then, up until that point, you could get parts for these, for their reels going back into the 1950s. I mean, they kept a healthy stock of things because they really stood behind their product, but now they're not any better than somebody like Cast King or Piscifun, or however you pronounce it. They're not really that good anymore. But thankfully, these reels last so long and they're made in such large numbers that you can go out and still get one. Chance upon something like this, like I said, at a garage sale, at an estate sale, and they're just so much fun to fish with. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. It's kind of like taking a 57 Chevy and making it a resto mod or something like that. But you still got to be able to do it. You got to get in there and make it your own. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of oil to these, and I'll show you what it does after. So I'm just going to take a little teeny tiny drop right there, bam. Other one right on this one, a little bit right there. And we got to hit the spool bearings. We're going to take a little teeny tiny drop right in there. And after oil the bearings, it's going to take a little bit for it to actually work itself in there, because you got to get it, of course, through all the races on the balls, and they'll make it better. It's going to be noisy initially, but it'll quiet down after a little bit of usage. Take this one, get it back on there. Next thing we got to do is oil the level wind. And what I do, I wouldn't worry about oiling the bearings on the sides of this level wind, because that oil is going to work its way over into them. So I just like take a drop there, and another drop on that side, and it'll work its way around. It'll get in there. But see how it's moving now? It's getting a little bit not as jumpy as it was when it was run dry. And also what I gotta do before I forget, I gotta go in there, get this pawl out, because that needs to be oiled as well. So you got that. Something I do here is I like to take a foam swab, because this doesn't really need a whole lot. Just put some TSI right there on the swab. I'll take this and kind of just run it around in there, get it nice and oiled. The thing is with the swab, it's not leaving behind any fibers, and that's going to be pretty important. I can take the pawl, drop it right back in there. Now what I like to do afterwards is just put a little dab of oil on it, because when that thing spins, it's going to make a little bit of friction, and that's what we want to eliminate. We can go ahead and put our cap back on there. Need tiny hands to do this with the smaller frame. Come on. It's so much easier to work on this when you have the higher factory frame, because it likes to, oh, there it goes. Now it's taken. But there's not much room there to work with, especially if you got big hands like myself. And we'll see how it does now that it's oiled up. See, and you can move that back and forth. Zero friction there. We'll go ahead and get this back on. The head plate, as it's called. A lot of us use side plate, but head plate is what the ABU terminology is for it. Go ahead, drop that in there. Get the other side on, make sure it's good. All right, let's see how it spins oiled now. As you can see, it doesn't move as well when it's oiled, but that's fine because it's possible to get an ambassador cast a little too good, and you're always going to be compensating either with your thumb or with a brake of some kind. And this one, is actually pretty decent, where you can use that spool tension if you ever need any kind of brake on there that's additional to whatever you got on the spool itself. Now on my stream reel, the one I use for trout fishing, I actually have a magnetic brake on there. And that one, it's not made for distance casting. I'm using it in creeks where I might be casting 20, 30, maybe 50 feet at the very most. And with a magnetic brake, that one, it's always on. It's a static magnetic brake. I actually had to take it out in the field with a bunch of spare magnets and mess around with them and come up with a combination of magnets of various thickness to see what I like the most. And it's a really good stream reel, and that's actually what the Japanese love the most about it, is how good of a stream reel it is. You can look all over YouTube and see a whole bunch of people out there in Japan that are doing what they call mountain stream bait finesse, and for them, this is the king of reels for that area of fishing. But there we have it. Hopefully you found this informative. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to drop me a message, reply to the comments below, anything you want to do. I'm Bob, this is Ashland Fishing, located in Michigan. I do quite a bit of reel service and a lot of custom builds and tunes. And this is my methodology of cleaning bearings, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you.